On this episode of The Layover, we're talking voice search with Paul McLeod.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of The Layover Live, where we talk about the top article from The Layover each week. I'm Jason Swick, VP of Digital Marketing, and I'm joined here today by Director of Business Intelligence, Paul McLeod. So Paul, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me back a third time.
Yeah, third time. Third time's a charm, right?
Yeah, it'll finally be good.
Something like that. Okay. Well, this week I want to talk about voice search, right? Because voice search has been a hot topic. We get a lot of clients asking us about voice search. I know a lot of Americans went out and bought Alexa or Google Homes around the holidays time. It was a hot item. And I know that even half of Americans now are using voice search at least once a day to conduct some type of search. So it is an important topic that we want to address. And for DMOs in specific, I know a lot of them are starting to ask us, hey, how can we optimize for voice search? Which brings us really then to our question today, which I want to feature in the beginning so you can talk about it and how DMOs can optimize, is coming from Jennifer at Morro Bay Tourism. And Jennifer is asking, what are SimpleView's thoughts on the voice search explosion, and how can DMOs optimize for it? So, Paul, as we talk about this article then from Edgy Labs on how to optimize your content for search, maybe talk about some of the ways DMOs can really look to their website in ways that they can optimize their content.
Sure. It's a good question. The way I like to think about voice search is basically it feels really new when you think about it. You know, like here I can now just say the things I want, and whatever device I'm dealing with, one of these things, a phone, whatever, will just sort of magically give me the answers. It feels like Star Trek. It's a little less revolutionary, I think, in terms of what's happening on the SEO backend than it feels when you're actually using it. So really it's two different things. One is it's a new way of putting text into whatever device you're searching on. Namely, you're saying the words instead of typing them in, swiping them in, using a keyboard. And that's the kind of shift that we've been dealing with in other phases of technological evolution for the past decade. When Google started suggesting keywords, people were like, oh my gosh, what's this going to do to what sort of keywords people use. When people started swiping on phones or tapping on phones, they asked, you know, how is this going to change what keywords people use? Just so we might presume that when we say the keywords that we're searching, they might change a little bit too. So as far as that part is concerned, it's just a question of, you know, is our content positioned and optimized well for these new keywords people may be using? So what are some of those ways then? So I know, you know, this gets brought up a lot, and voice is kind of different because, as you mentioned, it's just a different way of inputting what you want into that device. So maybe talk about some ways specifically then DMOs can Right. So I mean, part of it is we'll just have to see in the data how that shakes out.
Sure.
The best way to figure out how those keywords are changing is to use the tools that we use already. Things like Google AdWords Keyword Planner will continue to show us the keywords that people are actually using, and if they're putting in different keywords with their voices, we'll see that in the data. We can make some guesses ahead of time because the data isn't really there yet. You know, we might expect to see more things like just natural questions. You know, if you remember Ask Jeeves, that was a big thing 20 years ago. Like, how is this going to change?
Millennials right now are going, what's Ask Jeeves?
Yeah, exactly. Look it up, kids.
Well, and we even see it. I know even on the paid media side, even in search query reports, we're starting to see like, hey Google, and then a long tail type.
So more or less, you know, if you're typing, especially on a phone, you might put like hotels Tucson. With voice search, you might be like, hey Google, I need to find a hotel in Tucson. Now, so that's the way that we might expect the keywords to change. The thing that you'll find, though, is that the search engines, particularly Google, which is used by Siri and by Google Now, of course, which is really most of, and also Alexa, I believe. So that's really most voice search is going back to Google. Google pretty much interprets a keyword like that the same way they do the short version that you type in. You know, things like what are, help me find, things like that. They understand that those are just sort of from their perspective, fluff words that don't affect the user intent of the search that much. So basically, I would expect that it's not going to change too much. People still need the same things. They might be using slightly different words to find them. The search engines are probably going to mostly treat those words the same way. So I'm not expecting huge changes there, but we'll see in the data. So then the other thing that changes with voice search is, besides how you input the text, is how you consume the results that you get from the voice search afterwards. So for that, the big difference is that with voice search, a lot of the time, you know, sometimes you'll do one and you'll just get a list of results on your screen, like if you're doing it on your phone or whatever. But other times, what they'll do is they'll just read you back one answer or something like that. If you do a voice search for like things to do, which is a big DMO keyword, on your Google Assistant or whatever, or your Google Now, you get the little top sites carousel that you see there, which is exactly the same one that you get on desktop search. But what you don't get beneath that are the organic search listings where a DMO might appear, because the DMOs can't appear in that top sites thing. So in that sense, they might, voice search could steal some search volume away from DMOs. Like you haven't really done a Google search when you do that until you actually click through to the Google web results. And then other times what they'll do is if there's an actual answer to your question, if you're asking like, you know, what's the population of Dallas, or what's the average temperature in January in San Diego, or something like that, Google might just actually just read you the answer, or Siri might do the same thing. And in that case, again, the result might be that there are fewer click-throughs on searches like that to an actual website. So that said, you can actually optimize your site to be the source of information for that question. What Google does with a lot of those is they do like a featured snippet. So if you do a search for something like, an example we used for one of our clients was, where can I see the Northern Lights in Norway? What Google does if you do that search, you can check this out on your desktop, is they actually pull out a little snippet of text from a site that's basically just a little paragraph about where you can see the Northern Lights in Norway. And the reason they picked it is because right above it there's a heading that says, that just asks that exact question, where are the Northern Lights, or something like that. So if you actually, when you're writing your content, anytime you have a sort of an answer, a useful answer to a common question like that, all you need to do, maybe not all you need to do, but a really good thing to do is to make the heading above it ask that question. And that really helps the search engines understand that here I'm answering this question that you get all the time. Now we can not only rank you for that, we can pull that answer out and serve it directly to people in a featured snippet in the written results, or on voice search it'll just be read out to you. And what Google Now, for instance, will do is they'll say, according to visitnorway.com, you can find the Northern Lights, blah, 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 blah. So you get some branding,
little branding out of it, which is nice too.
No, you're not going to get a web page visit, but maybe somebody will remember that website name and go visit it later. I don't have any data on how often that happens, but it could.
Okay. Yeah, so all good points there.
Yeah.
If anything, again, just another way to input what you're trying to do, maybe optimizing, if you're looking at taking advantage of that today, optimizing for questions and things of that nature is one way to do that. Using structured data is another way to do that as well.
Structured data is really good. For now, it's not so much, there are only a few types of content that it applies to right now, things like recipes and news and podcasts.
But that should evolve over time,
right? Over time, more and more of that. And you know, through Simple View CMS, you have structured data built into your listings, your events, your offers and stuff already for everybody. So that's, we're doing what we can with structured data on that already.
Well, great. Well, great. Thanks, Paul, for that information. It's really great. I know it's a hot topic right now, something that we'll certainly be keeping an eye on. Jennifer, thank you for your question of the day, and we'll see you next week.